but then luckily I got a couple people now that I trust, that like the three of them. One of them's been doing it for 10 years. He just came back and started working for me a couple months ago. The other two, they're pretty fresh, but I guess it's been taking me too long to know how to, to like train them and sell, because I'm working 4.5 hours away from home. So
okay.
I come from 4 hours, so I work like 4 or 5 days, and I go back 2 or 3. So doing that selling, I was like, man, someone probably has a better roadmap.
Right. Okay. So right now you've got 3 guys. 2 of them are pretty much brand new. One of them has a bit of experience. And are you trying to continue to recruit right now? What's going on? What are the goals?
Yeah, what I really want to do is I really want to get to the point where I have I wanted to have like 3 little. I feel like it's really good to be under the radar with the insurance company. So I don't really like when people have and I know the adjusters a lot of times.
Sure.
At least some of them, they don't like it when you have 10 and 15 in place. But what I'd kind of like to do is have 5 an hour and a half in each direction, but 3 different little micro offices, whatever you want to call it, with 5 salespeople.
Okay, so 3 to 5 offices, 5 salespeople each.
Yeah, or I'd say 3 offices. I think 3 offices is my main. Would be my main thing.
Okay, so 3 spots, 5 guys. Gotcha. Okay, so then why are we talking today?
I guess it's just to hear about your training and how you guys help with the training process.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I've been struggling. I guess I've pretty much done the same thing as basically what a lot of your videos said, hey, get in the car, I'll take you, you'll do it. I usually sign them on their first couple contingencies with them, and then do as much as I can, and then the other guy will help them too. But then I'm just like, oh man, I can't do that for 15 people.
Hell no, absolutely not. Okay, and then so another quick question: the guys that you have right now, how did you acquire them? What is your recruiting system like right now?
Those were all by the Lord, so those were not by recruiting.
Okay, so they just kind of knew them or ran into them, or they were a personal recruit or something like that.
Yeah, they were all personal recruit. I mean, one of them's been my best friend since we were the only person I really trust with money. So I was thankful for that I got him. But
right.
But no, I started using what's it called? One of the big ones. Was it not Career Builder? But
ZipRecruiter. There's ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Glassdoor.
Yep, ZipRecruiter. But then I just kind of feel like it's trashed to a certain degree.
Okay.
I mean, it could be me. It also could be me, but I have people that are signing up, and then it looks like they're a president of 5 different companies. I'm like, what are you calling me? What are you even putting a resume in for?
Right. Okay. So, with a goal of having 15 people total, so far, would you agree we don't really have a system at all for that? Because right now, you can't find 15 people from personal recruits. You can sure as hell try, but it'd be a lot easier to just have a functioning ad to be able to get people in quickly, interview them, hire them, train them quickly, and then launch them, right? Because right now, you're like most companies, there is no repeatable process for it, and it's not scalable, right?
Correct.
So what we need is to have an effective recruiting method and then an effective training method as well. Because it doesn't matter, you can't have one without the other. If you have a badass recruiting system, you'll get a lot of people in the door, but without an effective training process, you can't keep those people. And then it's great to have a really badass training system, but if you don't have anybody to train, what's the point of that? So it's really kind of a 2-part deal. So we're going to be talking about recruiting and training. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I have a question real quick, and I think...
Fire away.
Yeah, I can tell you're a closer, so congrats on that. I watched your videos, I was like, wow.
Well, I would say don't buy anything from me if I wasn't, because what am I teaching? Teaching how to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Is that, well, I guess this is 2 questions, but your which don't really like that name. Is that like would that be like you say as your competition? Not saying the competition, but
you know, not really. To be quite honest, I don't really know. I've not gone through their training. I know a lot of contractors who have like gone to their seminars and like have bought some of their materials and stuff like that. But from what I understand from people who have done both, they're nothing alike. It sounds like the site has like a lot more. They kind of teach you, like they sell a lot of documents and things like that, and they help like with infrastructure, like setting up an office and things of that nature. But to be honest with you, Joshua, like I haven't seen their training programs. I wouldn't really call it competition. This isn't saying anything bad about anything that anybody else is doing, but I don't think there's anything on the market even remotely close to what I've put together.
Got it. Well, because I noticed like in somewhere on the website, but you're like, this isn't just virtual videos. So I was like, well, that's pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
So, which is basically their thing, which I agree with it and disagree with it, because some stuff you just can't be done, can't do.
Absolutely.
But it may have some positives in it,
There's
positives and everything, but
absolutely. And there's different methods and stuff like that. There's different, mixed media. There's videos for certain things. There's PDFs for others. There's live training for certain. But it's just whatever method suits the context best.
Gotcha. So I guess that was the thing, because like I guess even with watching your videos, I guess was like. So I guess that was like my question, like how yours differs from that. Obviously, I know you're not using virtual videos. Because I did like a conference call with with them actually.
Yeah.
Actually yesterday, but they tried to like overclose me, and then whenever we got off the call, they because they even tried to like TO and try to like
Great.
So I'm like, listen, mister, I was selling cars like back in the day, like trust me, I know what that is.
Yeah.
But like when they thought the Zoom call was over, and they were like, you should have got his credit card, yada yada. I'm like, yeah.
Gosh dang it, busted, totally busted.
But I guess where my question was, and because like, and their thing is like, hey, it takes like people 2 to 3 weeks. I'm like, my goodness. Anyway, but I guess like that's like, because you're saying like your training system or how you suggest that people are like are trained. I guess like, and I watched some of your videos, and when you're actually training and like going over with people stuff, I was like, oh, that's really solid.
Yeah.
So I guess like, how does that all incorporate together? Like, you know what I mean?
How does it work? Okay.
Yes, because.
So it depends. So I've got 6 different courses. All right. So there's the Advanced Sales and Supplement Training Program, the Xactimate Mastery course. Those two kind of go together, but they're 2 separate courses. Then there's.
What's the difference between the supplementing and Xactimate Mastery? Like,
Good question. Good question. Okay, so it's 2 different courses. The first one is the Advanced Sales and Supplement Training Program. It's a comprehensive course that includes advanced sales training. So this isn't anything you train brand new people with. It's way over their head. It's not in a particular order for them. This is like if you came to me and said, Becca, I've been selling for 2 years. I'm making pretty good money, but I know like I have blind spots. I want to kill my supplements, and I really want to max out my referrals and blah, blah, blah. That course has a ton of advanced sales training, so door knocking, referrals, closing, handling the bid collector, handling the deductible leading request, yada, yada, yada. The second half of the course is what I like to refer to as the art of supplementing. And then the Xactimate Mastery course is like the science of supplementing. Here's what I mean. So the art of supplementing, actually, let's start with the science. So the science of supplementing starts with the very technical aspects. That's using Xactimate software, right? So this is going to be everything from, of course, the first few videos are like Xactimate for Dummies. If you've never used it in your life, because there's a lot of contractors that are like, I'm still using Excel spreadsheets. I'm like, my God, okay. So the first few videos are going to be like, here's how you do the most basic stuff. The rest of it is like more advanced material that is really challenging for the average person to self-teach themselves. We teach you the sketch tool. We teach you how to import photos and Eagle views directly into your estimates. So when you send off a supplement, you're not sending 52 attachments to the state farm adjuster, because guess what? When he opens your email and it says 52 attachments, because there's 45 pictures, a copy of a contingency, a copy of the Eagle view, blah, blah, blah. What does that look like to this guy?
Got it.
And
he's pissed. Which one? That's the mastery?
So that's Xactimate Mastery, right? And it gives you like 100 pre-built macros, and they're, how to use language and definitions in Xactimate to overcome adjusters' bluffing objections. Because they'll say things to you like, for example, Josh, it'll be like, do you go by Josh or Joshua, by the way?
Joshua.
Okay, Joshua. I didn't want to shorten your name and then sound like an asshole. So let's say that in the other course, it shows you to ask for harnesses. And you go, okay, I need 5 harnesses for 2 days on this job. The adjuster might come back to you and say, Joshua, I saw you're asking for harnesses. If you see on line 16 and 17, we actually already paid for the steep and high charge, and harnesses are included in that. What are you going to say? You don't know. Most people have no idea. They're like, well, I mean, they don't know what to say. But the adjuster's just saying that because he knows 99% of the time you don't know Xactimate as well as he does. So he's just going to give you some bluff, and most of the time it works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're teaching you, like, here's where to find, black and white language and definitions. Here's how to use the Xactimate white pages, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So that's the science.
So is that an event? And sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like some of the stuff I'm going to get for me, and then some maybe I would get, whether it be now or in the future, for an office manager.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Depends on your goals, I guess.
So with that, so are you watching videos for that, or you do you know what I mean?
Right. Yes. So how all my courses work is they're accessible online. So certain things are going to be like the lessons themselves are legitimately on the membership website, where you're going to watch videos, you're going to open up PDFs, you're going to read lessons and stuff like that. Other ones are you're going to open that program and the materials are online for you, but you're going to use those tools. Like, for example, the new hires training, you'll access your materials from there, but you're going to be delivering a live interactive training with the materials I provide. Does that make sense?
Sort of, kind of.
So I'm not sending you a box that has a bunch of binders and DVDs and shit like that, and I'm not personally coming to your office and training you. There's only one of me, and there's thousands of contractors all over the country. So all the courses, all 6, are on a membership website. So if you purchased, let's say you got the all-inclusive business owners package, and it's got all 6 courses included, you'd have a login and a password to the membership site, and you could click on the programs and access all the materials in there. So if it's the Xactimate Mastery course, you're going to be accessing a ton of video tutorials, because it's literally watch and learn. You're going to click this, you're going to click this, you're going to click this. Here's how this works. And then same thing with like the Advanced Sales and Supplement Training Program. There's a bunch of PDFs, so you can open it, read through the lesson, and it's plug and play. Like, here are the directions. Just build this exactly the way I'm doing it. Here's the script for the late season door knocking approach. Here's exactly what you say. Here's the video so you can hear how it sounds coming out of my mouth. All that stuff. But then the new hires training is going to have, here, print and download these items. This is your day 1 script for training, day 2, day 3. Here's your trainer's guide. Here are the books your newbies need. So you're going to access it online to use those materials.
So which one is that?
So that we were just talking about the new hires right there. Let me just run through them in order so they kind of make sense to you. Is that okay?
Got it. Yeah, absolutely.
Just so I'm not jumping around on you here. Okay. So we've got the Advanced Sales and Supplement Training Program. And by the way, just to finish up on that, since we started, we were talking about there are 2 different courses, and I refer to them as the art and the science. The science is the Xactimate Mastery one, and that's because it's very technical. It's here's how to use Xactimate, here's how to use language, stuff like that. But the other one, the supplement training in the Advanced Sales and Supplement Training Program, is the language. So remember, supplementing is not just a technical task, it's actually a sales pitch to the adjuster, right? You're selling that adjuster on why you need what you need. And so you don't just create an Xactimate, send it over and be like, pay this, you dicks, right? It's like, hey, here's what we're asking for and why, and how you introduce that supplement and what you say to validate each item has everything to do with how the adjuster receives it. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yes.
Okay, so that one shows you, here are the items to add, here's what to say, and then when, not if, when the adjuster comes back to you and says, well, that's already included in the waste, or that's a cost of business, or, well, we just don't pay for that, or, well, we've got a contractor that'll do it for our price, blah, 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 blah. All that I show you, if an adjuster says this, you say that. If this, then this. And there's documentation, there's letters from the homeowner for overhead and profit, there's all kinds of stuff. This is where, like, you make your money. Even if you were to buy the whole package, these 2 courses alone, you'd pay yourself back in the first few claims and supplements. I can say that with 100% confidence because it is the truth, okay? So, those are the first 2. Any questions about those 2?
So let's say if somebody's got Xactimate, like, so let's say my office manager.
Yeah.
Her name's Megan.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows Xactimate. How good? Because we do the same thing every single time.
Yeah.
She basically has that down to a science because, see, I only target aluminum. I don't even care.
Yep.
So it's like that's basically the same line items time after time after time after time after time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like the same thing.
Sure.
So I guess, like, how hard would it be for her to, like, learn the supplementing and the art form? Like,
ooh, not very hard. I mean, here's what I always tell people. So you're talking about, okay, now it's time to close the adjuster and we're engaging in the back and forth. Is that what you mean?
Sort of, yeah, I guess sort of, kind of. Because that would still be, like, so it'd be just under the, because the supplementing is its own course, right?
Correct. So, exactly. So, if I were to put it into 3 bullet points, this is what you have to learn. 1, what you ask for. So, those are the Xactimate items themselves. So, my course has a lesson called the master list of supplemental items, and that's got well over 100 things that are kind of creative outside the box. So, we're not talking about the drip edge and the ridge and starter and like just the normal stuff that everybody's always trying to ask for. I'm giving you weird stuff that most people don't ever think to add that are, and siding is fun because there's a lot more bells and whistles in Xactimate for siding, and you don't get as many objections as you do with roofing. So that's why, like, when I told you earlier I had those tiny little rinky-dink houses that I was getting huge profit margins on. That was because I was like, oh my God, there's such a ridiculous supplementing opportunity here. It's easy. So that's all in there, like in a list format. Like if you go through siding, it just says like, here are all the things you can add. If it applies, add it. So that brings us to step 2, how you ask. So that's just teaching her, okay, if you picked items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, here's what you say to validate those items, to make it make sense, to not sound confrontational, to not sound demanding, but to make a strong case. And then and then it also includes too, when you send off the supplement, there's a script that you're going to use when you email it off. And I'm teaching her to never get on the phone. As if you can avoid it, never get on the phone, because adjusters will give you objections on the phone that they would never put in writing. Any guesses why?
Because it's illegal?
Bingo. Well, it kind of, yeah. Think about it like this. If you're on the phone and you're asking for a certain thing and they're just like, well, it's our policy to not pay for that. That might not be the truth, but how many times do you think they say that and the contractor shrugs and goes, well, State Farm's policies, they just don't pay for this. And they buy it, right? They're just like, I guess they just don't pay for it. But it's not true. And if they were to put that in writing, let's say you took it to litigation or for some reason the insurance commissioner got involved in that case for whatever reason, that doesn't bode very well for State Farm, right? Or Allstate or whoever it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, basically what I'm doing is muscling them right now, like supplementing, but I guess in a different way, because in the siding, this isn't like a match states. They only pay for direct damage, so
Sure.
like Allstate and State Farm, a lot of times they'll come out and be like, well, we don't care. We can only pay for two sides because the hail's directional, yada, yada, even if it's crushed.
Yeah.
But then I just use a claim number and I'll be like, well, what about these other five that are in the same neighborhood?
Exactly. That's a great thing to do. And then, of course, you can also get an ITEL, and they don't have to pay to match, but they do have to pay for like, kind, and quality to achieve reasonably uniform appearance. Are you using these phrases? Because those are very important.
No, I've used the betterment term on them a couple times.
Okay.
But then I actually had someone like say that I was practicing law. They like kind of threatened me at one point in time.
Right. Okay. So in certain cases too, you have to be careful
You still there?
how. Yeah. Can you hear me, Joshua? Did you mute me?
Becca, did it?
Let's try this again. Hello?
Yeah, sorry about that.
There
I
you
guess
are.
it just dropped somehow.
No worries. I could still hear you. I was like, hello, Joshua? It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can. So you can't talk about policy with an insurance company, because that's acting as a PA without a license. So the angle is, I'm just the big dumb contractor. Here's my estimate based on looking at the house. Why wouldn't you pay for these things? Right? And I'm paraphrasing massively here. But yeah, there's certain things like you don't want to specifically talk about policy and refer to the policy, but the homeowner can, because it's their policy. So in my program, in the Advanced Sales and Supplement course, there's the letters from the homeowner is what I just call them. And those are letters that say everything that you wish you could say as the contractor, but you can't. But the homeowner sends it in. And guess what? The insurance adjuster is not going to give the homeowner the same bullshit excuses he's going to give you. You know why? Because they have a contract with the homeowner, but they don't owe you jack shit. Right?
That's right.
Okay? So think about all these things, because that's where like this whole process comes in. There's a bunch of moving pieces, and again, I'm just kind of giving you the nutshell version of it. But all those pieces play together to get these bigger supplements. It's knowing the items that right now you don't know, because here's people's biggest handicap. I talk to dozens of contractors every single week. People's biggest problem with supplementing is simply that they don't know what they don't know. How can you ask for the things that you don't even know you can ask for right now? Right?
That's fair. That's a good assessment.
You know, so there's that. And then the last piece of the puzzle when it comes to supplementing that Megan would learn is, this is the most important part. Okay. As cool as it would be that you use my magic list of items and she verbatim copies and pastes my email script and sends it off, we would love for every single adjuster to say, Megan, thank you so much for sending that over. Your check is in the mail. Send us another one. Guess what adjusters are still gonna say?
Policy can't.
We don't pay for that. Right? They're gonna say whatever, like, well, that's a cost of doing business, or, you know, we've got a preferred contractor that'll do blah, 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 whatever they say. So the third step is having as many tools as you can to handle as many objections as you can. And here's what I always tell people. I cannot teach you how to overcome every single objection with every single adjuster on every single claim with every single insurance company, because they're all different, right? But most people don't have more than a couple of ways that they try to overcome an objection. So I'm giving you a toolbox full. If this doesn't work, send this picture. If this doesn't work, use this phrase. If this doesn't work, have your customers send this letter. If that doesn't work, then you're going to ask for this instead. If that doesn't work, send the insurance commissioner letter. So you've got a bunch of different ways to overcome objections. And at the end of the day, unless you're going to sue everyone, which I don't necessarily recommend because it sounds pretty time consuming, you're not going to get every single thing. But let's say you're asking for, you know, $6,900 and they end up giving you $5,500 and you go, cool, that's good, let's meet in the middle and let's move on. Because I'm also not teaching you to like argue for 2 weeks over a pipe jack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So, anyways, that's, you know, if Megan's supposed to be kind of like learning the supplement stuff, that's all it is. And of course, there's a learning
curve. I think it'd be O&P if it was anything.
What's that?
I think it'd be O&P.
Okay, so here's the deal with O&P, though. Everybody, think about it like this. Joshua, let's say you work at Nationwide, okay? And you answer the phone. You're an adjuster. You answer the phone all day long for contractors who are sending in supplements, right? What percentage of those contractors do you think are asking for overhead and profit?
I guess it depends on how long they've been doing the business, but most of them.
Damn near 100%. If they know what it is, they be asking for it, okay? Why? Because it's obvious, and it's 20%. It's sexy. Everybody wants O&P, right? But because everybody wants it, the insurance company has made it damn near impossible to get it in as many cases as they can. Because what do they say? If you ask for O&P, they'll say what?
Not complex enough, or at one point in time they told me that roofing didn't count as a trade. I said, what are you talking about?
Right, they change, like they move the goalpost every time. They're like, well, it's not enough trades. And then you're like, but it's 17 trades. And they're like, well, it might be 17 trades, but it's not complex enough in nature, right? They have a catch-22 going, because they know every single contractor is going to ask for it. And that's actually how I got really good at supplementing, because the only thing that I knew about at the time was O&P, but I was watching the guys at my office on the phone, you know, having the same damn arguments over and over and over again every day. And I'm like, do you guys ever get O&P? And they're like, I mean, yeah, sometimes. Like, all right, well, like, if you can add that, what else can you add? And that's what I started just digging in Xactimate and just finding. I mean, that's where that list came from. It's over 100 things that I'm like, people didn't think about this, people didn't think about this, and it's roof, siding, gutters, interior, and commercial. So there's a ton of opportunities.
So I guess I have two main questions.
Fire away.
They'll be in two completely different directions.
Okay.
One, so like, and I saw some of the testimonials, which were great, which, you know, where the guys were raving like, hey, I doubled this or made that, like, off of that.
Yeah.
Has anyone gotten hot water because they were doing it too much?
Nope. Not a single one. You're not doing anything wrong. And there's no such thing as doing too much. All you're saying is, Mr. Adjuster has given his scope of what he thinks this job entails. I'm the one doing the work, and I see that this is what this job entails. How can we meet in the middle? You've got companies that are doing $20 million out there, Joshua, and they're supplementing every single last one of their claims. I mean, people think in their minds, oh no, the insurance company is going to like catch on that I'm doing this every time, blah, blah, blah. But you're one of tens, if hundreds of thousands of contractors sending in stuff for these claims every single day. Like, that doesn't happen. That's kind of an illegitimate fear. And honestly, what I've found to happen, in fact, in the program, you'll see it. I actually address this because sometimes contractors will say, well, Becca, in my area, I run into the same adjusters a lot. You know, it's like this dude for AAA, and I see him all the time. It's this guy for Liberty.
No, that's how it is here. I feel like it's like for the same.
Yep.
For the most part, you see the same dudes.
Exactly. Well, in the course, you're going to see a lesson. There's one of my clients' names is Cody with a K, but it's Cody DeWeese, and he was living in I want to say Oklahoma at the time, but he had emailed me and he had sent off the supplement, and the adjuster emails him back, and it was like, no, 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 just like no to everything. And so he's like, what would you recommend I do here? So we talked about it. He sent back a rebuttal, and then the adjuster emailed him back again. And not only did he say no to everything again, but he put it in like bold red letters this time. And I'm like, wow, this is escalating quickly. And then I'm like, and so we kept following the process. If this, then that, if this, then that. The guy ends up approving like 80% of the supplement. And a couple weeks later, Cody emails me and he goes, Beck, you're not going to believe it. Ran into the same adjuster again. And he goes, I sent him over my supplement. Not a single argument. Guy knew, because why do you think that might have happened that way?
Because he knew what he was talking about, and there's nothing you could do about it.
Bingo. He's like, all right, well, I tried all the usual tricks. This guy obviously knows what he's doing. But we're never dicks about it, right? So people get a bad impression about what supplementing might be like sometimes, because what they think it means is, first of all, starting at the adjuster meeting where they point their fingers in the adjuster's faces like, you need to pay this because blah, 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 and I'm going to take your ladder from the house and leave you on the roof, right? And then they think it's just like arguing. It's not. It's like, hey, Mr. Adjuster, you know, I know you deal with like a lot of a-hole contractors that demand the sun, the moon, and the stars from you. I just want you to know I'm not one of those contractors. I know you have a job to do, and like I also have a job to do here. I'm just going to point out some things, you know, that I see that are necessary for the job, so that we can discuss them and hopefully meet in the middle. And so the approach is just very cordial. We're never being threatening. We're never being dicks. It's just like, hey, this is just how it is, and we're so good at validating it and then handling the objections that adjusters, like I said, we're not going to get every single thing that we ask for, but we get a lot of it. Right?
So in some of your courses, would it be like stuff that I would train my salespeople to be like, hey, you need to be saying this out there and not that?
So are you talking about supplements still?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Ideally, you're not going to actually be having every single person on your team have to know how to supplement. They shouldn't really have to do that. They think, right, we want, if Megan's going to be that gal, she's going to be like an assassin at supplements. She's going to be the Michael Jordan of it at the office, instead of hoping that our 15 sales guys all can do it as well as she can. Plus, your salesmen, like, their time is best spent selling. We want them knocking doors and closing deals, and then somebody in-house is maxing every single one of those claims, right?
Yeah, right.
It's like I always make the joke, I call it the Cheesecake Factory effect. Have you ever eaten at Cheesecake Factory before?
Yeah, and everybody?
I think so. It's America. But, like, the menu is, like, 40 pages long, dude. There's literally, like, 200 items on the menu. You could get anything you want. It is. You could get macaroni. You could get tacos. You can get steak. You can get anything there. But if you want to go and get a good-ass steak, you're not going to go to Cheesecake Factory, right?
No.
They do it, but they do everything, and they do everything okay. We don't want your salesman like that. Where do you go if you want a good-ass steak?
Capital Grill.
Exactly. You go to a steakhouse, right? Because that is what they do there. And that's what we want to do at the sales guide. And really every role in the company, you know, your administrator shouldn't also be the person that goes out and fixes leaks and also goes out and canvasses and also, right? It's like you do this and you do it really well. And that's what I kind of recommend. You can do it however you want, of course. You know, this is just my opinion. But
no, and I think what my question was, I was like, I wonder if there's some things they can do differently when they're actually out there to avoid having to supplement as much.
So, yes, there is. I thought we were talking about just sending paperwork, doing a back-end supplement. So, yes, they're going to learn certain things in the field, but we're not pushing it on the adjuster meeting. There's going to be certain things that they're going to learn to like do and say, and then techniques like I do recommend they show up to the adjuster meeting with a printed Xactimate in hand, and I teach you in the course what to do with that, how to approach it, how to introduce it to the adjuster, all that stuff. So yes, certainly they're going to learn those techniques like meeting with the field adjuster, but we're not teaching them to like argue on site about the things we're going to do a back-end supplement on.
Got it. So here's my question. So like, let's say in just like the recruiting and the training. Yeah. Would I just be watching the stuff and then releasing it onto the people? Yep. Or would I have them watching things themselves?
Okay, so I think that everybody on the planet would love if you could just press play and say, hey, brand new people who don't know jack shit, watch these videos and then you're going to be $1 million salesperson. It doesn't work like that.
Preach.
Exactly. Yeah. You just can't do that, okay? So that's, you hit the nail on the head. So those two courses, like the recruiting system, which is called the recruiting machine, and then the new hires training, you're going to log in, you're going to watch videos so that you learn how to deliver that training, and then you're going to print off the scripts and the trainer's guide, and then the new hires are each going to have their own book. I'll explain that at the end, though. They're each going to have their own books that they're following along in. but you are going to perform a live training using the materials in that program. So think about it like if you were a college professor, say, and you were running a 5-day seminar on whatever, and the training is actually like the lecture that you're delivering. So you've got your scripts there, you're going through the content, you're making them perform the exercises, they're role playing, they're studying along in their book, they're practicing and memorizing the scripts, all that stuff, they're doing drills, okay? And then there's a trainer's guide, because here's the other thing, here's where a lot of people drop the ball. Joshua, you've been doing this for 10 or 11 years, you said, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so you're probably pretty damn good at closing, yeah?
I think so.
You don't have to think about it anymore. You're not out there sweating, rubbing your palms together. You just go out and you talk to people and you close deals. It's not that hard, right?
Yeah, correct.
So, here's where a lot of people drop the ball. Because you've been doing this for so long and because closing and door knocking is so second nature to you, you actually might end up being a pretty shitty trainer. Hear me out.
That's fair. I agree. No, I agree with it.
Right? Why? Well, because you've been doing it for so long, you're so beyond the basic fundamentals that you, first of all, don't really even remember what those are. And all you can do at this point now is teach people what you do. But we can't teach brand new greenhorns wet behind the ears how to do what you've learned in the last 10 years. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So the trainer's guide is a very crucial part of this system because the trainer's guide is teaching you as the trainer, here is exactly why we are doing this training the way we're doing it. Here's why it's in this order. Here's why we talk about certain things in this way. Here's why we use this word instead of this word, right? It all plays into developing these brand new people into functioning salespeople without overloading them, without putting the cart before the horse, and without you, I always make the reference and I say, you're going to accidentally try to teach them how to make half-court shots when they're not even making layups yet, right? Like, yeah. You're going to be like, hey guys, just do this. And they're going to be like, I can't even reach the hoop. I don't know what I'm doing, right? So the trainer's guide is really important for that. And again, I have literally made these programs so easy, a monkey can do it. If you can read, you can do these programs, okay? It's easy. I break it all down here's exactly what to do and say when. Just do that. It will work for you, okay?
Got it. So you're saying and you're saying most people have their people up within 3 to 5 days?
That's how it works. Okay, so in a nutshell, it's like this. I say 3 to 5 days, and here's what that means. So there's day 1, day 2, day 3 of training, and that's the main meat and potatoes, and I recommend running it. You'll see in there, I'm going to explain all that in the course, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Saturday. So
it's that's almost like classroom training, you print this out and you go boom, boom, boom.
Bingo. So during those days, you probably want to allot on a short, fast end 4 hours, but it might be 5, 6 hours, really just depending on how big the class is, how long-winded you might be, whatever it is. So let's say you schedule it from 9 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, whatever. So for the first 3 days. Then Saturday and Sunday, you're going to love it. How it's set up is that Saturday and Sunday, they go out and they do what we refer to as practice inspections, which are real inspections, but they're going to be capitalizing on people they know. Hey, Aunt Betty lives on 6th Street. Do you think she'd let you go look at her roof and then practice a sales inspection? But guess what? If Aunt Betty has hail damage, Joshua, don't you think she's going to sign?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's building these guys' confidence because first, they don't feel a ton of pressure. They're just oh, this is my friend's dad. I'm just going to look at his roof or whatever. And so they get to do that for their first 2 days. And so that's built up to where their first weekend is as packed as possible with inspections. Then they come back Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday for follow-up training 1 and follow-up training 2, which is only pertinent now that they've actually done some practice inspections. Does that make sense?
It does.
So yeah, so that's why I say 3 to 5 days.
What do you guys, that's something I've struggled with too, is I was like, man, what do you even bring in new hires and give them? Like, what do you guys recommend? You recommended to do like a training pay or a draw?
So ready for my answer? You're going to love it. It's built into the program. So I show you in the recruiting machine, actually, I show you the suggested compensation structure to advertise, because here's the problem. Most contractors hire somebody, and you know what it's like in this business. Let's say you closed it. By the time you start this job, you get trained, and you go out, you start getting some deals signed, and finally the adjustment meeting happens, and then finally the paperwork comes back, and then it finally gets built, and then it's getting invoiced. Sometimes these dudes don't see a commission check for like 4 to 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
So that's a problem, and that's why most contractors end up doing this. They go, okay, well, Johnny, we just hired you, and I'm going to give you, $300 or $400 a week just to get you strung along here so you can pay for gas and food until we get you making commissions. Well, let's say that's $300 a week, but you've got 6 guys, and that's 6 times 300 times, let's just say on a low end, 4 months. That's $7,200 that you're hemorrhaging out in base pay. And what if, God forbid, every single last one of those dudes quits? Doesn't work out. You can't do that. You're not getting anything for that, right? It's very risky for you as the business owner. So I have a pay structure that I highly recommend following in the program, and it's going to protect you from bleeding out quote-unquote base pay, but it gives them the safety net that they need to stick around while they do the job. And it only has to be kicked in really that way for the first few weeks until they start making commissions. But you'll see the structure. It's exactly what Cutco Cutlery does. It's so great. So they basically get paid per inspection, regardless of if there's damage or not, regardless of if they sign it or not. Because think about it like this. If your guy goes out and he does 10 inspections in week 1, okay, let's just say, and he gets paid $50 per inspection, what he sees and thinks is $50 an hour. Holy shit, I get $500 for doing like 10 hours of work? Okay, right? So he goes out, there's not a lot of pressure. But we know that if he goes through this training and he does 10 inspections, he is gonna get at least, even if he's the biggest dum-dum on the planet, he should get at least 1 deal. And that far keeps you
so, right? Come on.
And exactly, and that's how this works too, is like if somebody keeps going and after week 2, they've done 20 inspections and they still haven't signed something, something's wrong. But you can catch that now, right? So I'm giving you again kind of like an overview of this system, but people love it. People love it. It works really well, protects you, gives them the safety net. That's all built into it. So you're set there.
So the recruiting machine, that's part of the recruiting machine, or? Correct.
So it's part of the recruiting machine because you have to advertise a base pay. People look for a new job because they want to make money, right? So it's built into the recruiting machine. So the recruiting machine is going to give you the word-for-word ad to hire candidates. And here's how this works, all right? Most contractors are putting out an ad on Monster or ZipRecruiter or Indeed or whatever, but it says something like, now hiring, door-to-door roofing sales, average commission $75,000, in the first 6 months. And they think it sounds awesome because it's true, but nobody clicks that ad. Why? Any guesses?
Probably because it sounds unrealistic to them because their mind can't get that big.
Yes, and because it says sales. Most people on the planet are working a job job. Why? Because they think it's secure, right? I have a salary, I clock in, I clock out, I get dental benefits. So when they see door-to-door commission-only roofing sales, they are running for that. They don't want to click that, right? They'd rather sign up for the $37,000 desk job. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so me and you are like, why would you do that? But to them, that seems like it's the safer thing to do. So the first thing is I give you verbatim, and please do not change it. It works. Don't change the ad. I promise it works. So the ad is written in a way that doesn't make people run for the hills, and it doesn't sound too good to be true. And these are the numbers. You will get, running this ad, an average of 20 to 50 applications in the first 7 to 10 days running this ad. Higher end is usually going to be in peak hiring time, which would be like spring, early summer. That's when a lot of people are, getting out of school and stuff like that. But 20 to 50, you can bank on it. I've had a handful of people get over 100 applications in the first week. It's craziness. So that brings
You already know what my next question is, right?
Well, you're going to say,
sure you do.
How do I train all those people, or how do I interview all those people?
Or I'm sure it's in your system about how to weed them out.
You already know it's in the system. So, and the other thing is, you're not going to sit. So let's say this is what happens. Let's say you run the ad and 30 people apply. And you look and you want to schedule 24 of them for interviews, okay? Well, 24 people, you don't want to interview 24 people individually for 45 minutes at your office or a Starbucks. That just became your full-time job. You don't have time for that shit, right?
No.
And
it's terrifying.
Absolutely. And if you've done this for any time at all, you know that half the time people don't even show up, do they?
No.
You're like, and the reason that happens, by the way, is because when people are applying for jobs online, they might apply for like 11 jobs one night. So you might call them back and they're like, yeah. But then they just like don't show up. So let's say 30 people apply, let's just say, and you want to schedule 24 of those people for interviews. You're not going to do 24 individual interviews. You're going to do 2 groups of 12, let's say. And if you've never done a group interview before, I know that sounds like a strange concept. Like, aren't people going to think it's weird when they're all like in this room? They're not. Trust me when I say this. I show you exactly how to set it up and introduce it so that it makes total sense. It's not awkward at all. Can you trust me on that?
Yeah.
Okay? I promise it's not weird. So now let's say you have 24 people scheduled over the course of 2 hours because you're doing 2 group interviews. And even if half those people didn't show up, you're not wasting a single second because half the people are still in the interview, right? So the interview is completely scripted for you in the recruiting machine as well, because here's the next problem. Contractors mistakenly believe this. Well, if I have a good ad, I'll just get people in the door. And if I can get people in the door and tell them how much money they can make, everybody's going to want to do this job. But guess what happens when you say, great, glad you're here. Let me show you my $22,000 commission check from 12 days last July, and you see that Ford F-250 in the driveway there. I bought that cash last summer because I made so much money. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. What do they think? Yeah, right. What do they think when you tell them that? Yeah, right. Bullshit. Right? They think it's too good to be true, right? But that's the problem. So most of you guys don't have a good interview. It's a shit interview. You sit down with people, no offense, I don't know what yours sounds like, but every contractor out there just sits down with someone and just kind of tries to talk about the job, and then they're telling the truth. It is a crazy opportunity. You can make a shitload of money, but then people don't show up for training because they're like, this sounds like a scam. Is this Amway? Amway's not a scam, but you get it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm in agreement with it for sure.
So then let's say those 24 people, you schedule them, and let's say half of them show up. 12 people show up. You hire 8 of them. 6 of them show up for training, and you end up keeping 3 or 4 people out of that group, let's just say. That's how you do waves of recruiting, and no longer having to go one here, one there. He didn't show up. This guy had a tattoo of a swastika on his face. He's not going to work. This guy did, right? It's boom, we run the ad. Boom, we schedule a bunch of people. Boom, we run a group interview or 2 or 3 or however it goes. Now we've got a class, and then we push them into the new hires training. So now we've got that batch of people we just hired, and we're going to push them right into the 3 to 5 day training. As a group, no ride-along training. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It's great.
Okay.
That sounds good.
So, you're going to get tired of hearing my voice. There's so much we're covering here. But those are those 2 programs. So then that leaves us with 2 more programs. So before I move on to that, any specific questions about those?
No, I think the one that is in door knock, and this may not, it's a problem. I guess my answer is no. It's probably not about this. Remember when you said about the late door knocking in the season?
Yes.
I feel like I can humble myself and be like, hey, maybe there's things that, I'll survive no matter where, just because I think just from doing it so long.
Sure.
But I'm like, hey, I could be missing one thing, and if it's costing me $1 million worth of sales or whatever, turning one guy who does 500,000 to doing $1 million, I'm not, gotta humble myself somewhere.
Absolutely.
Is that only in the advanced training?
Yeah, so I'm not going through every single different variation of door knocking with the basic training. That's too much for these guys. We're teaching them basic, there is no one size fits all door knocking approach, obviously, but we're not going, hey guys, if it's this time of year, say this. If it's the wife, you say this. If there's 10 contractors on the street, you say that. That's too much for new people. You're going to find those lessons in the advanced sales and supplement training program.
So if I guess that was my question. So the sales training program, it would really only benefit me for going from A to B with new hires and new recruits, but not with the 3 that I have.
Well, I certainly wouldn't say it wouldn't benefit the new 3 that they have. It'd be a great refresher course. Just so that you get it, I get a lot of emails from people who go, Becca, I've been doing this for, however many years. I just went through this material just to practice for my upcoming new recruits. And he's like, I get emails all the time that say things like, I knew all this stuff, but I can't believe, I forgot it. I haven't been doing that, and that changes everything. I forgot this one phrase, or I haven't been saying this, or I haven't been doing this. So it would, for sure, it would get everybody on the same page. But yes, ideally, the guys you currently have, they're going to be a little bit more advanced. They would benefit from going through the new hires training just to kind of get back to basics. But they would get the most value long-term out of the advanced sales and supplement training program. For the guys that you have right now, they're veteran sales guys.
Got it. Well, one of them's been doing it for a month, but he just happened to be selling have you ever heard of Visalis? Do you know what that is?
Is that vitamins and protein shakes and things like that? Yes.
Yep. So the kid was a beast at that. I think maybe he's 24 or whatever. It's actually the guy's my best friend's cousin. But
nice.
I was like, hey, anyone who can sell that crap can sell some free roofs, for goodness sakes.
Hell
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Exactly.
So I was like, so he's definitely a whale in my hands.
Right.
Where he's already out setting appointments, and he was one of those ones that after seeing it once or twice, I'll knock on their door, I don't care. He's that super rare breed.
He's a freak of nature. Yeah.
Basically.
We like finding freaks of nature, but they're hard to find.
Oh man, yes.
Right? Most people are, I always talk about most people are kind of average and they're malleable. So if you give them, you can't expect to just hire people and find people like that guy all the time. You're going to get lucky sometimes and find them, but most of the time you're going to get average people who are just if you just show me what to do, I can do that. But if you throw me to the wolves, I'm going to get eaten. You know what I mean? So we want to play the game the way that the game's set up. And the game is set up that most people are average. There's your top 10%, there's your bottom 10%, and then there's your middle 80. Your middle 80 needs systems in place to make sure that they succeed. So that's what this stuff is for.
That's good. That's a really good breakdown. That's a good picture. That's all right.
Well, if the truth, if you've got 10 people in your office, one of them is a freak that's doing, he's 1.2 million in 7 months and he's just cruising. And then you've got the bottom, you hired this guy and you're just he will never figure it out. But then most people in the middle are just
They'll never figure it
out. Yeah, that guy should probably just go work at Target. I love Target. No offense. But it's like, most people in the middle they need proper training, coaching, and management. They can't just go and take it on their own, But again,
I'll tell you where my thing is.
Yeah.
I guess where the biggest struggle I've had is because it was unrighteous, but I actually got sued by a guy, which was like someone we basically helped off the street or whatever, but
yeah.
But I started enforcing like you just can't be lazy.
Right.
And then he sued me basically to where so I'm not sure if any of that's in your training, and all my people are 1099, which I'm sure is not uncommon in this business.
Right.
But if you suggest how you guys whenever you bring them in training, hey, this is what's kind of required, and this is that, and that's that.
Yes. Okay. So 2 things here. 1, this needs to be addressed in the very beginning, not when people begin being lazy. Does that make sense? So there's a couple aspects here. There's a course called the Sales Team Management Program, and that's kind of what this is about. 2 things are at play. When you've got people that you want to have some sort of standards in place or something like that, 1, it starts in the very beginning. When we're training and interviewing these guys, we're putting it in their head that it's normal to do about 10 inspections a week at least. It's pretty typical that, if you're going to do part-time, you're probably going to try to do 20 appointments a week. So we're setting the bar very high. So what they think is normal is way higher than what most people are doing. So they automatically will try to achieve those numbers. I'll give you an example. I was actually a perfect example. So when I first started doing sales, I actually dropped out of college my 2nd year because I started selling Cutco knives. And when I went, they have this thing called the Fast Start Contest. And how they promoted it was in your first 10 days, you sell 10 grand in knives. Okay. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh. But
Dude,
I drank the Kool-Aid. I was just like, I guess, all right. So I did the math and I was like, all right, so the average order is this much. So that means I have to do this many appointments. So I guess I'll just do that. So I ended up selling almost 12,000. And at the end of it, I was the first person in that office to ever sell more than $10,000. And afterward, I didn't realize until later, I'm like, oh, that's nobody does that. That's just what they try to get you to do. But most people sell 1,000. But I had no idea. I just thought I was doing the average numbers. So I just did whatever it took to do that. Does that make sense?
Wow, yeah, they're probably we got a wheel on our hands, fellas. We got to maximize here.
Exactly. So I was like, oh. So that's what I've done in the training is the language is geared toward raising the bar without them even realizing it. So that's where it starts. But then the second thing is managing these guys, okay? You've got to have a way to continue to keep them motivated and to continue to keep them level.
What course is that in?
Sales Team Management. So that's basically holding everyone accountable. This is after they've been trained and you've let them loose. This is holding them accountable, goal setting with them. There's different compensation structures in there. So that's the other thing. How you pay can also be a huge tool in keeping them going. Most salesmen end up just getting a flat rate. And after a while, they kind of burn out or they get fat and happy and they don't really need to go to work anymore. So I have in that system a pretty sophisticated ladder that works. So every month they're striving to hit a certain number because they get a bonus when they hit that number. So you'll see that in there as well. And then there's a lesson in that course called Managing Low Producers. So that's going to answer a lot of your questions about that.
What is your can you kind of customize can you kind of customize a bundle, I guess, or
yes. Yes, you can. So what I've done is it starts with the all-inclusive, which is obviously the big ticket one that gets you everything. And that's pretty significantly discounted. You save several $1,000s doing it that way. But then if that's just like out, if budget's an issue and you're trying to get there's a certain number you've got in mind, you can customize a package as well, and you still save money every time you bundle programs.
Because like the recruiter machine, what is that under?
What is it under?
Or that's just its own separate
so that's
entity?
Yeah, so there's 6 courses, right? The Advanced Sales and Supplement Training, the Xactivate Mastery, the Recruiting Machine, the New Hires Training, the Accelerator, and the Sales Team Management Program. So
What's the Accelerator?
So the Accelerator is, think about like roof sales survival skills 101. After you've put everybody through the New Hires Training, the Accelerator is a very small course. It's just giving the basic survival skills, but it's online, so that after your guys have graduated New Hires Training, they're still going to like want to be able to go back and listen to the sales presentation, hear the door knocking approaches, stuff like that. So instead of 5 guys calling you twice a day each for 10 minutes asking you questions, they can log into the Accelerator and listen to me do the sales presentation again. They can listen to the door knocking approaches. It's just an online resource for them to kind of check back in, because after they leave New Hires Training, they go out in the field. We need to give them some resources, but the advanced sales training is still too much for them at that point when they're new. Right? So that just kind of lets them, like, they can come back and log in and study again and go, oh, yeah. So when somebody says this, here's what I would say. All right. And they get to hear me say it and what the tonality sounds like and word for word. So it's just like studying the basics that they learned in the new hires, but online, so that you don't have to keep answering the phone and answering the same questions all day long and you can't get anything done.
Sorry, I'm just taking it all in because there's so much.
I know. I know. It's okay. And it sounds more overwhelming than it is. It's really 2 courses that go toward supplementing, 2 courses that go together for, recruiting and then training people. And then the rest is like tools. It's just lots of tools. So you log in, you go, oh shit, I can use this. So we're talking about a lot of concepts as well as how the programs actually work. It is a lot of content, but it's not as overwhelming as we're making it sound.
Yeah, because I think I definitely need help with the recruiting and I would say probably all of it, but so what would you recommend